everybody? Welcome back to the Mile High County College Football Podcast. This is episode 9. We are on week 14. 14, Conference Championship week. Today is Thursday, so rankings came out 2 days ago. Just briefly go over those. I know it was Georgia, Michigan, TCU, Southern Cal, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State, Clemson, Kansas State in the top 10. The surprise there for me, I think, is Clemson staying in the top 10.
Absolutely.
I just think, I usually the committee hates us. I mean, I'm not complaining that we're still in the top 10, but, like, the committee hates Clemson, I feel like, just because they're in the ACC and kind of usually will drop them a lot lower. I feel like if they would have been an ACC team they would have lost to, I think they would have dropped like at least 13 or 14.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing really else you can say. I mean, they are 10-2 though, so I mean, so is Washington, so is Tulane, but they are 10-2, so they're probably still one of the best teams in college football. It's just that the recency of 2 losses compared to like maybe losing a game early in the season or losing to like a top 10 team. 11. What?
I was gonna say not many teams only have 2 losses either. So
Yeah,
that helps Clemson's case.
11 through 20 went Utah, Washington, Florida State, LSU, Oregon State, Oregon, UCLA, Tulane, South Carolina, and Texas. So we see South Carolina pop into the CFP rankings for the first time at 19 after the 2 big weeks that they've had with beating Tennessee and beating Clemson. Oregon State jumps up a lot and jumps Oregon. And then we see LSU fall a decent amount of spots after losing Texas A&M. And Washington, I think, should be above Utah. But
I agree.
that's really it there for me. And then 21 through 25 was Notre Dame, UCF, North Carolina, Mississippi State, NC State. Surprised North Carolina stayed in there.
Yeah.
I think the only reason they might have kept them in there is because they are in a conference championship game, and we know that they like to skew rankings sometimes because of stuff. Mississippi State hops in there. They weren't ranked last week, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Mississippi State hops in there after beating Mississippi in the Egg Bowl. NC State hops back in there after beating North Carolina in overtime. And Notre Dame drops a couple spots after losing to Southern Cal. Anything you got to say about the rankings, the official rankings?
They're not horrible. I mean, you're getting to the point now where the back end just doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah. Real quick, talk about mine. I actually had Michigan at 1. I just think that at this point, maybe that big win over Ohio State is a reason for them to jump Georgia.
Does Blake Corum being out for the year change that?
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, Michigan, Georgia, TCU, Southern Cal. I had Alabama above Ohio State.
I did too.
Tennessee was at 7. Penn State was at 8 for me. Washington was at 9, and Kansas State was at 10. I had Clemson at 11. The rest of it is kind of irrelevant, almost, I would say.
Yeah.
The only different teams I had in here was, or actually, I'm gonna do it like this. So I had. I'm trying to see if I got any like numbers aligned. You know what I mean? I had Oregon at 16. I had Tulane at 18. And then I had Notre Dame at 21. However, I didn't have UCLA ranked as high as they got, just because like I didn't really see a reason. They barely beat, who was it, Cal? Was it California they played?
Yeah.
They barely beat California, so I was like, why should you jolt them up that much? I don't remember what they were ranked last week, though. I'm not gonna lie, the official rankings. But then I had 3 different teams in my rankings that were not ranked, and they're all group of 5 teams. And I like to rank group of 5 teams in that 20 through 25 just to give them a little bit of, like exposure. I have UTSA at 20. They're playing really good football again. I had Troy at 24, showing some love to the Sun Belt, and I had Boise State at 25. I think Boise State's actually like a really good team, and their freshman quarterback is a beast. And honestly, this is might sound crazy, but I think that their quarterback could win a Heisman here soon,
If Boise can get back to where they were, he could.
or if he transfers.
Or if he transfers.
You know, he's 6'6".
That's wild.
Anything you want to say about rankings?
I mean, we pretty much had the same thing in the top 10, except I had Georgia 1. I had Washington 8, Penn State 9, and then I had Florida State at 10.
Good.
I also had UTSA ranked. And I threw Purdue at 25 just for fun against Michigan.
Yeah.
But other than that, we were pretty similar.
And it's kind of, we talk about Heisman with our rankings every week, but it's pretty brief to talk about Heisman this week. Caleb Williams is
The Heisman Trophy.
more than likely winning the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
And
Blake Corum's done.
and C.J. Stroud with the loss has kind of been a little bit eliminated.
Unless Caleb Williams just lays a complete egg this week, I think that he's got it.
And just real quick, I'll go my top 10 just for fun, I guess. Caleb Williams, I still have Blake Corum at 2.
Okay.
I had Max Duggan at 3, Bijan Robinson at 4, C.J. Stroud at 5. I had Stetson Bennett at 6, Bryce Young at 7, Bo Nix at 8, Hendon Hooker at 9, and Shadur Sanders at 10.
Shadur Sanders, that's a good one.
Even though he can't win the Heisman, I don't think. But
I didn't even do a top 10.
I literally had no other option really at 10. I was like, who should I put in? I was like, oh, Shadur Sanders is a fun guy to put in there. We talk about games real quick from last week, I guess.
Yeah.
We want to talk about those ones that didn't really mean anything first. That we talked about, like just the rivalry games.
Yeah, that's fine.
You have the list, so you go ahead and I'll mark off any games that I had written down. How about that?
Okay.
And we'll start Thursday, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Mississippi State wins 26-24. Ole Miss scored very late in the game and had a chance to tie it up, but missed the 2-point conversion.
So we were both wrong.
Both took Ole Miss and cover, which was incorrect.
So next we had Texas and Baylor.
Okay.
We both said that Texas would win and Baylor would cover.
It was 38-27, I think. Or
Yeah,
37-28. 38-27.
Yeah, Texas kind of dominated, so we both missed that one too.
Really?
Yeah. We both said Texas wins, Baylor covers.
Well, we got the winner right, so
we
that's
both got
1.5. Both got 1.5. Okay.
Tulane, Cincinnati. We both said Cincinnati would win and cover, and Tulane won outright.
I gotta stop riding Cincinnati right now.
Yeah, now Tulane will host the American Conference Championship.
Okay.
We both predicted UNC to win. I said they would cover. Cam said that NC State would cover, and NC State won.
So that's half a point for me.
Nebraska and Iowa. I said Iowa wins and covers, and Cam said Iowa wins and covers. Iowa lost.
Bad week last week for me.
Both of us. You said for Florida State, FSU wins and cover, or you said Florida would cover. I said they wouldn't, so that's 0.5 for you.
No, that's FSU won and
oh yeah, you're
covered.
right. Yeah, so I got 0.5.
No, sorry. I got 1. You got 0.5.
Yeah.
Florida lost by 7. It was 9.5 at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got 1. You got a half.
Michigan versus Ohio State. If we want to go more in depth about this, Ohio State for the second straight year
Dominated.
Yeah.
The second half.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan Ohio State's got to stop being finesse and soft and stop the run. Their last 3 losses, they've given up almost 300 yards rushing. It's the same problem as last year.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you've got to start looking at Ryan Day at some point and being like, what's going on? Because you've got arguably the most talented team in college football. A lot of people were picking you to win the national championship this year. You had the best offense in college football talent-wise. And, I mean, unless something happens in front of them, they're done in terms of national championship hopes. And it's the second straight year the exact same thing has happened. So just gotta. Congrats to Michigan, but I don't know.
Real quick I was actually on Twitter earlier and just sometimes I get into these like deep dives onto Twitter, and I was on one earlier and I was looking at stuff about people talking about. They were like, yeah, like Ohio State fans really want Mike Vrabel to be the Ohio State head coach, and people were like, well, one, people were arguing why would Mike Vrabel leave Tennessee Titans,
Yeah.
because he's a really good coach. But then they were like, why do you want Ryan Day out when he's 45-5 in his time as a head coach? He's won 90% of his games. But it's like, it's weird because the standard in college, really the standard in all sports as a head coach is different, because if you have a talented team, you are automatically supposed to do good. And I feel like that's why people are targeting Ryan Day. I don't think he's a bad coach.
No.
But I think it's maybe not so much to look at him, but to look at him and his players. Because maybe he's not being hard enough on his players. Maybe that's why they play soft sometimes.
Well, here's something too, and I'm not saying that it's coaching. They're just a finesse team.
Yeah.
But again, that kind of falls on coaching. 2 years ago, or even coming into this season, if I told you that Jim Harbaugh was a better coach than Ryan Day, what would you say? You'd call me stupid.
I don't know. I like Jim Harbaugh.
Now you look at it, and it's because I remember 2 years ago, people were saying other than Nick Saban, they would want Ryan Day.
Yeah.
And now you got Kirby is superior than Ryan Day, without a doubt. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh, without a doubt. Dabo Swinney, without a doubt. Lincoln Riley, without a doubt. That's 5.
Well, is Dabo Swinney superior?
He's got the track record. It doesn't matter what they did this year.
It does. But I just think maybe he is, but something about Dabo is I think the game is changing in a way to where he's not adapting to. And that's why Clemson is starting to digress.
If you're talking about a program leader, Dabo maybe isn't as good as Ryan Day right now, but in terms of football coach, he got a lot out of that group this year. Because realistically, they're, especially offensively, to win 10 games.
Yeah, we're not that good, I agree. All right, we'll keep moving.
Moving on, the next game was South Carolina Clemson. You want to go into any more depth about that?
I mean, honestly, we just got outplayed. We got outcoached. DJ lost us that game. When you go into a rivalry game like that, there's no doubt about it. I don't care if South Carolina was 0-11 going into that game. Mm-hmm. They're going to play you hard. And South Carolina came in there with the intensity that was needed and the game plan that was needed to knock off Clemson. And they executed it almost perfectly. The only mistake was at the very beginning of the game when Spencer Rattler threw right into the middle of the field into a passing lane, and Jeremiah Trotter jumped in front of it and got a pick 6. Besides that, after that, the game was a completely different game, I felt like.
Yeah. It
was all South Carolina. Even though that we were winning most of the game, it was all South Carolina's game. They had the energy we didn't. Now, I hate to be this person, but we are an injured team right now a little bit. Bo Collins had just got back, and it was playing pretty well, and then goes out with an injury. We already had lost some of our safeties, and then our main starting safety, Jalen Phillips, gets hurt on a play, and we have to put in some walk-on. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And now this doesn't really mean anything, but he's a white guy. He's a little slower, and honestly, my main focus when that guy came in the game was I was watching him.
Yeah.
And he looked completely lost. And they had 3 or 4 plays after that, and they scored a touchdown. Pretty easily.
South Carolina's hot, too.
Yeah, I mean, they're a hot team. They're a really good team right now. Respect to them. I hate them the most out of every team in college football, but, I mean, just there's something about, for me at least, you got to respect it.
Yeah.
No matter how much you hate it, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, it was BS. This happened. This happened. This happened. This happened. I just think now the look is on Dabo Swinney and his staff after this bowl game, after the ACC championship, to look at the inside, and you got to make a change somewhere. I think.
Yep.
One thing I think that needs to happen, possibly, is I think our offensive coordinator maybe should be fired. I feel like our game plan is way too conservative and predictable. And another thing is we absolutely have, with an underline under it, to start taking people from the transfer portal.
It's not even just that in terms of the transfer portal. You've got this whole all-in mentality.
Yeah.
Well, Dabo promoted both coordinators within instead of having a national coordinator search. It just comes to with Dabo. He's got to adapt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure everyone appreciates the family atmosphere and all of that, but you appreciate wins more. And you've got to go into the portal. You've got to have national coordinator searches and coaching staff searches.
I agree.
It's just got to adapt. It's not even 5 years ago anymore,
Yeah.
College football's changed.
It definitely has.
But we can move on from there.
And we both got 0 points for that game.
Yep. No, we both got 0.5. We both said South Carolina would cover.
Oh, okay.
Then this next one I want to talk about is Purdue clinches its spot in the Big Ten title game against Michigan.
And that was something that I meant to say about the Iowa-Nebraska game that cleared the path for Purdue to be able to clinch on Saturday.
Okay. I'll take 1 point for that. I said Purdue would win and cover 10.5. They did. Cam said that Purdue would not cover, so I tie it.
So I got a half, you got a 1. Yep, okay.
We both said Coastal would beat James Madison. You can look the score up for yourself.
I want to point something out. First episode when we predicted that game, we were unaware of Grayson McCall being out.
But then when we found out, we didn't change it either.
Yeah, I had thought about it, but I just didn't want to go back, and go back on my word. So, yeah. But Coastal's offense looks really bad without Grayson McCall in there. I just want to put that out. But James Madison, with all respect to him, they were clicking very well on offense in that game. I think maybe if Grayson McCall did play, they might would have still won that game if their offense was putting up numbers like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways.
This game doesn't matter too much. South Alabama Old Dominion, but you get a point. I get 0.5 for that one.
I got a point. You got 0.5.
Well, what was the spread on that one? I honestly don't know.
I think South Alabama was favored by like 10 or something.
I think so too. So
13.
you got it. Yeah.
It's 13.
But that game does not matter because Troy will go to the Sun Belt Championship game.
Because they beat the crap out of Arkansas State.
And we both said that Troy would win and cover.
They definitely covered. They won by 29.
We didn't really make picks for the Washington State game, but Washington did win and they did cover.
Okay, so we won't talk about that. We won't count points for that.
Hey, I'm pretty happy about this one. Oregon State versus Oregon. I said Oregon State would win outright, and they did. They came back from down 28-10 to win that game. The spread was only 3.5, so I just get 1 and you get 0 for that one.
Okay.
But that was a crazy game.
That was a really good game. I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, might have been the best game of the day.
It might have been. It really might have been.
There was really good games though.
Bama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl, which didn't mean as much as it usually did or does. We both said that Bama would win and cover, and they definitely won and cover.
Both get a point.
Iowa State at TCU. I said Iowa State would cover, and TCU did not let that happen.
So I got a point. You got half.
Yeah.
Yeah, TCU absolutely dominated that game. I was considering watching some of it, and I hadn't been watching it, and I was like, let me go check some scores real quick, and I think it was like 21-0 maybe or something like that, and I was like, never mind. I don't need to watch
Yeah.
this right now.
TCU, okay. In my opinion, TCU could lose and still make the playoff. I think that they have earned the right to make the playoff no matter the result of the game on Saturday. Now, I don't think the committee thinks like that because they've already robbed TCU before. But they've already beat Kansas State. And I think they're going to do it again. But if they don't, I still think they deserve to make it. But moving on. App State versus Georgia Southern. We both said App would win and cover, and they didn't. I'm not going to bore everybody with a bunch of App State talk, but there's a lot of changes that need to be made here.
And some changes have already happened.
This is a winning program, and we haven't won this year. Under the current staff, we've gotten worse.
Yeah.
So, moving on, LSU at A&M. We both said LSU would win and cover. Texas A&M dominated.
I'm really mad about this one, and I've already said this before, but I've said this a lot. There's atmospheres that make me think teams are going to win games when they're underdogs, and I had considered it at first. I slightly considered picking Texas A&M to win that game, and I didn't do it, and I'm mad that I didn't do it now.
So LSU's playoff hopes are completely out the window.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Notre Dame USC. This was a game that people were circling for USC. And they're like, okay, if you want to make the playoff, you go out and win that game.
Yeah.
USC dominated this game.
Now the scoreboard didn't really indicate that they dominated.
Really, they won 38-27.
But Notre Dame did make a little bit of a late push there. But I mean, USC it felt like USC was playing a team that didn't even have a chance to be in that game. You know
USC's rush defense was very, very good.
Yeah, very good.
But their pass defense, Drew Pine was 23 of 26 for 318 and 3 touchdowns. So, but USC will play Utah in the Pac-12 championship, which we'll talk about, and they will control their own destiny to make the playoff.
Sit in that
And we both got that one right.
Both got a point.
Now to check our egos a little bit, we both picked Vanderbilt.
Okay.
To defeat Tennessee.
And they lost 56-0. A lot of people thought that Tennessee's defense was going to take a hit losing Hendon Hooker.
You mean offense?
That's it.
Yeah, you said
defense. But it really didn't. Now, it is Vanderbilt. So take it with maybe a grain of salt.
They were hot.
They were good this year, better this year. And, I mean, it's questionable what we're going to see from Tennessee come bowl game time. Especially considering, those big bowl games definitely don't look like some people expect them to, or don't look like if they would have played in the regular season because of guys that opt out. And I would probably expect Jalen Hyatt to opt out of that game.
Yeah, probably. Maybe Cedric Tillman. And
just for reference, and never mind, I'm not even gonna say that. I had projected them to play Purdue, but they played last year, so that's definitely not gonna happen. But Purdue, I don't know about anybody that would probably opt out, really.
Yep.
Anyways, we'll keep going.
So the last game that we went in depth about was Kansas State. And Kansas State will clinch their spot in the Big 12 title game after beating Kansas by 20. We both got that one correct. For the scoreboard, do you want to include all of these bowl games? Because we just picked those out right.
Oh, you mean like those?
Yeah.
No. Did we not talk about Kentucky, Louisville, or Michigan State, Penn State?
We did the Michigan State Penn State bowl game. For Michigan State.
You just mean that game, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, if no spread, we won't worry about it.
Okay. I mean, we both picked Penn State to win.
Unless you want to just go straight off of 1 point for picking the winner.
We could do that.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Buffalo lost, no points. Western Kentucky.
This one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you got a point for picking Miami, Ohio. Buffalo lost. Western Kentucky won, so that's both 1 point each. Lafayette won. They did win, so they beat Texas State.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss also won because they also got bowl eligible.
So you picked Miami. I picked Pitt.
Damn.
Pitt won.
Dang, that's gonna lose me that, I bet.
We both picked Penn State. We both picked Arkansas. Missouri beat Arkansas to become bowl eligible, right?
Yes. Penn State. Oh gosh. Penn State won, so I'll put both 1 point for that.
Did North Texas
We
win?
did talk about North Texas's spread.
Did Rice cover?
I don't know.
Okay, let's look at it.
I think Rice played them pretty close last time I had checked. Yeah. That spread had to have been bigger than 4, right? Oh yeah, let's go, baby. So what? I got a point, you got a half a point there.
Yeah.
And then UAB,
I think UAB lost.
I think they did. No, they won.
They won. Okay.
So both a point there. And UTSA did win, so both a point there. So, final score is that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 1.
And then last week's hot takes.
Dang, you got me. You won 16 to 15.
Last week's hot takes for Superdog. Who did you have?
I had. Was that last?
You had that UAB Louisiana Tech game.
No, you did.
No, I did.
You
Did I get it?
You had Louisiana Tech plus 17 versus UAB, so you were correct.
Woo! Finally got a Superdog.
I had Wyoming plus 15 versus Fresno State. What was the score in that game? I don't think they covered plus 15. I think they got beat by like 24. Oh, they got beat 30 to 0. So,
well, where you were wrong on Superdog, my hot takes.
no, I have you written down as hot take was correct. Oh, you said Louisville beat Kentucky.
I had 2.
By double digits.
And FSU beats Florida by 14, and they were both wrong.
Okay. And mine was also wrong, as I said Cincinnati would beat Tulane by double digits. And biggest spread of the week, we were also both wrong. Not a good week.
Now, let's be honest. Georgia was going to cover that spread. They were on their way to score, and then Carson Beck fumbled up 30.
So for Superdog, again, that's the only one I've been keeping record of. Your win moves you to 2 and 4.
Let's go.
And my loss moves me to 3 and 3. So, yeah.
One more week. Well, we got bowls.
Yeah, we can do bowl if we want to, depending on how we do it. So let's talk about this week, I guess, real quick, right?
Might as well go over all of them.
Yeah. Let me
I've
go.
got spreads too on here.
You got spreads?
I already wrote them.
Okay, cool. So first off, we have on Friday we've got 2 games. We have the Conference USA Championship, which includes UTSA versus North Texas. What is the spread in that?
UTSA is an 8-point favorite.
8-point favorite. So my pick is UTSA to win that game.
Okay.
8 points seems weird to me because I could see them winning by a touchdown or a field goal. However, I am going to take UTSA to cover 8 points.
Okay. I am going to be different and say that they only win by a touchdown.
Okay.
Because a lot of times these
Yeah.
smaller conference championships are close.
I agree. I just think UTSA is a lot better than North Texas.
I think they are too.
And
And I think they're going to win.
And if you actually look at their game against UTEP last week, UTSA's,
Yeah.
they started out super slow. And I feel like they were looking ahead already, and that's why. They ended up coming back and winning. They were down, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And it's a rivalry.
Yeah. So I will take UTSA to cover. You are taking North Texas to cover. And then our other Friday game is the Pac-12. We have Southern Cal versus Utah. What's the spread?
USC is a 3-point favorite.
I think UCSA. Oh, UCSA. I think USC gets their revenge on Utah for
Yes.
beating them earlier in the season, and 3 points is weird to me, so I am gonna take Southern Cal to cover that 3
I'm going
points.
to take the same. Which puts USC in the playoff.
Then we go to Saturday, right?
Right.
Starting off the day at noon is the Big 12.
That's game day.
We have TCU and Kansas State, like we've previously mentioned, and
TCU is a 2.5 point favorite.
and how are you gonna choose that?
I am going to take TCU to win and cover
Okay,
because they dominate. They didn't look ahead.
I agree. Now, there's teams I've mentioned. I think I talked about this last week that I think have been on a crash course to play some teams, and I might have been wrong about those last week, but I'm confident this week I'm gonna take Kansas State to knock off TCU and eliminate them from the playoffs.
Okay.
Then we go to the MAC, baby,
Action.
the second best conference in college football. We have Toledo versus Ohio. I think Toledo's 7-5. Ohio is 8-4, maybe, or 9-3. I think.
I think one's 8-4. One. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What's the spread?
It's Toledo minus 1.5.
Wow, I'm gonna take Ohio.
Okay. I'm taking Toledo to cover.
Okay, I just needed to make sure you were taking them to cover that 1.5 point.
1.5 points.
Then we have after that the SEC, which doesn't matter as much now as it did. Let me look.
This game's also good for another segment on our show, the biggest spread of the week.
Is it really?
It is.
Wow. Let me do some research real quick.
It's actually up to a 17.5 point line.
Jaden Daniels
Is playing.
got hurt, but is expected to play. I'm gonna take Georgia. I was gonna take Georgia either way.
Yeah.
However, if Jaden Daniels isn't playing, I was definitely gonna take Georgia to cover, but he is. I'll take LSU to cover. I think that they can cover. I think they can cover that much.
I just think Georgia's been locked on this game since
17.5. That's crazy.
I think Georgia's been locked in this game. The only other two games they've been completely locked on are Tennessee and Oregon, I feel like, and they dominated. I think they dominate again. Don't watch this game in the second half.
Hey, Toledo's minus 2.5 now. Anyways, also at 3:30, along with it, well, SEC championship is 4:00. Sorry,
Yeah.
but at 3:30 in that vicinity of time, there's 4 games. Is UCF and Tulane. Tulane is minus 4, and I'm gonna stop picking against Tulane for once, and I'm gonna take Tulane to win this game. I'm not gonna take Tulane to cover though. I think they win by 3.
What's the spread?
4. Tulane minus 4.
I'm going to take Tulane to win and cover.
Okay.
They're not going to lose at home to UCF again.
Also at 4:00 is the Mountain West Conference Championship, which features Fresno State and Boise
That's
State.
going to be a great game.
Boise State is minus 3. Have they played each other this year? I feel like they have. Boise State is minus 3. Boise State won their first matchup in early October, 40-20.
And the game's at Boise State.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Boise State to win and cover.
I did the same.
Okay, and at 3:30 is the Sun Belt Championship between Coastal Carolina and Troy. Troy is minus 8.5, and I don't think Grayson McCall is expected to play still.
He's not. That line has been
It's
bet
also-
down 2 points.
Huh?
It was 10.5. Now it's 8.5.
It's also at Troy. I'm definitely taking Troy to win, and I'm gonna take Troy to cover 8.5.
I'm also going to take Troy to win and cover. Troy's got one Sun Belt loss, and it was a Hail Mary.
Yeah. Their other loss was to
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah, so an SEC team. And then the nightcap of the conference championship, the last two, we got the Big Ten. We've got Michigan and Purdue. Michigan is -17. I'm going to take Michigan to win. Give me Purdue to cover, though.
I also took Purdue to cover.
And then last but not least is the ACC Championship, which features Clemson and North Carolina. Clemson is -7.5. Give me Clemson to win. Give me North Carolina to cover.
I'll take Clemson to cover. I think as bad as Clemson's dejected, I think UNC is also equally as dejected.
So I did want to mention this real quick before we get into Super Dogs and biggest spread. There is 2 more games being played this week. One is Akron and Buffalo, which I had mentioned last week.
Right.
And I said sucks for Buffalo because they would have probably won that game and became bowl eligible. Now they get to play it. However, Akron beat the ever-living crap out of Northern Illinois last week. So maybe it's not a pushover game. Buffalo's -11. That doesn't matter. So Buffalo does have a chance to win. They're -11 though. Just want to let you know that. Do you want to pick these 2 games that we have just because? I'll take Buffalo to win that game, and I think Buffalo to cover too. I think that they want to get bowl eligible really bad.
I also will take Buffalo to cover.
And then the other game is New Mexico State is hoping to become bowl eligible while hosting Valparaiso. I don't know, Valpo. You know what I'm talking about?
What's the spread?
It is minus. There's no spread actually. There's no spread, I guess, because Valpo's an FCS team. I'm pretty sure.
New Mexico. I'll give you a spread. New Mexico State -31.
New Mexico State wins. Valpo covers. -31. Now, New Mexico State has not played another FCS team. No, yeah, they have. Lamar's FCS, aren't they?
Yes.
So that means if they win it, that's 2 FCS wins. So they wouldn't be bowl eligible either.
Or maybe they'd get a waiver.
Yeah, they could get a waiver, being an independent school. But they really haven't beat anybody good though. They got blown out by Wisconsin. They got blown out by Minnesota. Their 5 wins are against Hawaii, New Mexico, UMass, Lamar, and Liberty. They did beat the crap out of Liberty, though. I will give them that.
All right, let's go a step further with predictions. Go playoff and New Year's 6.
Well, I think I had written these down, which I was going to talk about in a minute.
Start with your Cotton Bowl.
My Cotton Bowl is I have Tulane.
I have Tulane.
And I have them playing Washington.
I have them playing Penn State.
Okay. What bowl you want next?
You call it.
We'll go to Rose Bowl. I have Ohio State playing Oregon.
I have Ohio State playing Washington.
Okay, that's reasonable. Sugar Bowl, I have Alabama playing Kansas State.
I have the same thing.
And then the Orange Bowl, I have Clemson playing Penn State.
I have Clemson playing Tennessee.
So I had Clemson playing Tennessee originally.
But then you thought they were going to lose to Vandy.
No, I made these after.
Oh, okay.
I made these on Sunday. I had them playing Tennessee, but I was teams short in certain conferences, so I had to mix a bunch of stuff around and move a bunch of stuff around. So some of my projections definitely do not make sense.
Okay.
But SEC and Big Ten, and I think one more conference is eligible to play in that bowl game against the ACC.
Okay.
So that's why I chose Penn State. And my playoff is I have Michigan playing TCU in the Peach Bowl and Georgia playing Southern Cal in the Fiesta Bowl.
I have Georgia playing USC in the Peach Bowl because Georgia will be the number 1 team.
Well, yeah,
they'll get to choose.
This was before rankings came out. So
Okay.
That's why I still had Michigan at 1.
And then I have the same matchups. And I mean, if you want to go a step further, I think the Natty will be Georgia and Michigan, and Georgia will win it.
In mine, I would also take Georgia versus Michigan, and I think Georgia will win, especially with Blake Corum being out. So just real quick, I guess Superdog. This is hard to take because the bigger spreads I took, the teams favored. You know what I mean? I guess Purdue covering 17 against Michigan is my Superdog. Yeah. Purdue.
I mean, that's.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I had.
Unless you want to take a small one.
No, I don't. I have. I'll take North Texas to cover. I'll do that.
Well, that's 8.5, right?
That's 8.
I think it's 8.5 now, so I'm gonna write that down. I'm giving you an extra half point. So,
You sure you don't want to take Valpo?
yeah. Biggest spread of the week is Georgia. Like I said, I think LSU will cover
I think
17
Georgia
and
will
a
cover.
half. UGA minus 17 and a half versus LSU, and you take Georgia. Oh, I put a check mark. Oops. UGA. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm messing this up so much. LSU, UGA. And hot take. I'm gonna have to go stats here, I think. You know what? Just because I want to, well, actually, maybe do I want to see it to happen?
What? What are you gonna say?
DJ goes off.
I have my hot take.
Okay, go ahead with yours.
LSU does not score an offensive touchdown against Georgia.
It's interesting, actually. It's very creative. I kind of want to steal that idea, but
It's realistic. Last time they played in that building, didn't score.
give me Deuce Vaughn goes for 150 rushing and two plus total touchdowns,
Okay.
or at least two total touchdowns. How about that?
I could see him doing that, and them losing.
Yeah, I guess so. 150 plus rushing and at least two touchdowns.
Can we call this like it is though? This is easily like the least exciting conference championship week ever.
Oh yeah.
Like there's not, like your top 2 teams aren't really getting tested. I mean, in terms of they're not playing in a big matchup.
Yeah. And then to finish this off, I want to talk about bowl stuff real quick. Just because I put a lot of time into this, I created bowl projections for every single bowl game. Now this was hard with the 3 teams not being eligible, so I did have to throw in teams that have 5 wins. So if you hear me say a team like Arizona, who has 5 wins, is because I was lacking a Pac-12 team, and I needed a 5-win team, so I threw in a 5-win Pac-12 team. Same with, I'm pretty sure I have Michigan State in here somewhere. Okay, so Bahamas Bowl. This bowl is actually already confirmed, according to ESPN. Miami, Ohio will be playing UAB. This is the first bowl game of the year. I'm not sure why they would have already confirmed it. I guess maybe for time constraints, but there's also a bowl on that same day, so I don't know. Bahamas Bowl, Miami, Ohio, UAB. I'm just gonna speed run this. Cure Bowl, Air Force, North Texas. Fenway Bowl, Memphis, Syracuse. New Mexico Bowl, Wyoming, SMU. Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, Washington State, San Jose State. Linden Tree Bowl, Toledo. Marshall, Las Vegas Bowl, Arizona, Kentucky. Frisco, South Alabama versus Utah State. Myrtle Beach is Georgia Southern versus Liberty. Potato Bowl is Buffalo versus San Diego State. Boca Raton is Louisiana Lafayette versus UConn. New Orleans Bowl is Middle Tennessee State versus Southern Miss. Armed Forces Bowl, Western Kentucky versus Houston. Independence Bowl is Cincinnati versus BYU. Gasparilla, I think is that. Oh my gosh, Gasparilla. I think that's how you say that. Troy versus Florida. Hawaii Bowl, UTSA versus Fresno State. Quick Lane Bowl, Iowa versus Eastern Michigan. Camellia Bowl, Bowling Green State versus Coastal Carolina. First Responder Bowl, Baylor versus ECU. Birmingham Bowl, Louisville versus Missouri. Guaranteed Rate Bowl is Kansas versus Michigan State. Military Bowl is Central Florida versus Wake Forest. Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech versus South Carolina. Texas Bowl is Oklahoma versus Arkansas. Pinstripe Bowl, Pitt versus Wisconsin. Alamo Bowl is Oklahoma State versus UCLA. Cheez-It Bowl, Texas versus Duke. Barstool Bowl is Boise State versus Ohio. Duke's Mayo Bowl, NC State versus Minnesota. Tony the Tiger Bowl, Florida State versus Oregon State. Tax Slayer Bowl, Notre Dame versus... I'm going to switch this right now real quick. Tax Slayer Bowl, Notre Dame versus Tennessee. Music City Bowl, Ole Miss versus Maryland. Tampa Bowl, Illinois versus LSU, Citrus Bowl Purdue versus Mississippi State, and Holiday Bowl is Utah and UNC, and then my New Year's Six Bowl I already said.
Yep.
So
I didn't do that.
yeah, that took a lot of time. There's a lot of teams bowl eligible from all different types of conferences. I think this is maybe the most spread out we've ever had it. And I feel like that's why I was short on teams
Yeah.
because, like, there's, I think, like 12 games that is supposed to be, like, Big Ten in, and there's only, like, 10 teams eligible from the Big Ten. So it's like, what do you do at that point?
Yeah.
And I don't really know because I'm not a bowl expert, you know. I
Yeah.
just kind of started throwing teams together, and I just got to a point where I ran out of teams and I had to change a lot of stuff around. So don't crucify me for that being extremely wrong. But yeah, that's all I got.
All the coaching stuff and transfer
Yeah.
stuff, we're gonna save that for the next episode.
Yeah.
When there's not games played that next week.
Upcoming schedule that we are thinking as of
Yeah.
right now. We're looking at a live stream on Sunday. 12 o'clock is when the rankings come
12
out?
o'clock, yeah.
At 12 o'clock for when the rankings come out. Just live reacting this time instead of recording it and then uploading it. Actually being a live stream instead. And then just uploading it from there. And talking about just the rankings, the playoff stuff, some bowl announcements will start coming out then, and all this and all that. And then after that, I'm thinking maybe a week after that or so, we can talk about bowls, give our predictions, and maybe talk about the earlier bowls first, and then maybe in a later episode, like a week or a week and a half later, talk about the later bowls, so it's not so much at one time.
Talk about coaching and transfers.
Yeah,
all that
and
stuff.
we're gonna talk about that. Kind of mix it in there,
Yeah.
here and there, and stuff like that. And after that, that's a little while out. That'll probably get us through the national championship in January and stuff. So we appreciate y'all watching, and as always, appreciate the support. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.